Really, it's about being inclusive and thinking about all the people who are looking or need this transportation system, and not just the people who need it, but also in relationship to how does it grow our economy. We're really looking to provide something that's sustainable, capable, something that can, really help anybody in Lorain County get to where they need to go.
Hello, and welcome to the G&O Summer Road Trip podcast series, brought to you by the Fund for Our Economic Future. Each week, we'll hear a story of growth and opportunity from your communities throughout Northeast Ohio. I'm your host, Madison Scagnetti. Our fund's job access framework really struck a chord in Lorain County, where 9% of households don't own a car, and where public transit is very limited. Our chair, Brian Frederick of the Community Foundation of Lorain County, and many others in the community came together to start MOVE Lorain County, which stands for Mobility and Opportunity for a Vibrant Economy. MOVE has 7 board members, and there are over 12 local organizations who are members. 2 of those board members are Sharon Pearson and Frank Whitfield of the Lorain County Urban League, an organization working to empower African Americans and all disadvantaged persons in the community. Today's episode of G&O Summer Road Trip takes us to Lorain County, where I sat down with Sharon and Frank. We started off our conversation by discussing what MOVE is.
MOVE is a nonprofit organization. We just recently received our 501c4 designation, which is a social welfare nonprofit organization that does have a lobbying arm, but we're really focused on how we can educate and engage the community on viable and mobile transportation systems in Lorain County. We were last year or the last couple of years focused on public transit, but now we are really looking to include all transportation options that include biking, walking, use of technology in transportation, such as things like Uber and Lyft, and also public transit and how they all work together.
I asked Sharon how MOVE began.
We decided to have a Lorain County Transit Forum on February 3rd, 2015. And it was a very snowy night, and I thought we would only have 30 people show up. Lo and behold, even through that snowstorm that we had that evening, we had 100 people that showed up. We filled the room, and we heard a lot of information that just compelled many of the thought leaders in the county to say, we've got to do something about this. And so about 6 months after that meeting happened, we decided to formally organize as a group working on transit and other transportation options in the county.
One Lorain County resident who wishes he could have made it to the Transit Forum was Marcus Atkinson. But as Marcus explained to me, as much as he wants to get more involved in the community, he really can't because of his transportation struggle. Marcus shared how his transportation struggle hinders his access to jobs especially.
I grew up here in Lorain. I was away for about 6 or 7 years where I lived in Columbus. I got a bachelor's degree in journalism, and then mainly for health reasons, I came back here to Lorain. Cleveland Clinic was a lot closer, and my family's here. I'm visually impaired. I've never driven, and it really didn't affect me too much until I became an adult. I did have a job when I was 16, but it was within walking distance. And then when I went away to college, the transportation system is very good in Columbus. It was when I got back here, back home in Lorain, where it really started to affect me in a negative way. Since I don't drive, your options are, family, friends, or they do have a bus system now, but it runs every 2 hours, so it's not that practical. You have like a doctor's appointment. It could literally take you 6 or 7 hours. The other option is traditional taxi. Those are very expensive. Can't really rely on that. Let's say you did have a job, you can't take the taxi every day. An Uber or a Lyft, cheaper than a taxi, but it's still no way to get to and from work. I was pretty lucky for a while when it comes to work. My first job, when I came back home, I worked in the same building as my sister. And then my second job, I worked for the one of the local newspapers here, the Chronicle Telegram, where my father worked on the same block. So he was able to take me. But even then, when it came to that particular job, I had to kind of work around his schedule, and that did put me at odds a lot with my supervisor. They understood my situation, so they were able to accommodate, but I was pretty lucky with that. But I was eventually laid off of that job after about, I say, half of a year of me not really able to find a job. What I ended up doing was getting with a friend of mine and starting my own business. That worked for a little bit, but it couldn't sustain basic living requirements. So there was a while again where I was again unemployed. There's jobs where I knew I was qualified for, but I wouldn't even apply because of its location. I knew I didn't have a way there and back. I'm lucky I just started a job about 3 months ago working from home. It's not what I wanted to do. I mean, it's not what I went to school for. You go to school and you get your degree, tens of thousands of dollars, but I'm not doing anything near what I intended to do. But I'm in a situation where I can't choose. I have to take what's available to me. And so I'm working from home, and it's better than I was, 6 months ago where I was unemployed. So
Sharon wants listeners to know that there are many others in the community like Marcus who struggle with transportation.
So just to bring this home, I think that there's some things that people need to understand, that it takes at least $15 an hour for somebody to successfully own and operate a car. That 9% of Ohioans, 6.6% of residents in Lorain County, and 9% of Lorain households do not even have a car. And that baby boomers and millennials comprise of about half of the U.S. population, and both generations are driving less. And that a new urban mile takes about $15 million to build and generates about $60,000 a year in gasoline taxes. So it takes about 250 years to pay off. These are the reasons why transportation options are so important to growing the economy. We can't continue to do this and sustain ourselves. So we've got to make a difference. We've got to do something different, and we need to do it soon.
Frank told me about a few projects MOVE is working on this year.
As I was mentioning, the grassroots, really connecting community folks with the issue and showing, just common residents how they can get engaged in this work and help to change the system. And then also looking at private solutions, like kind of demonstration projects to show, we're going to do a pop-up transit event in the fall, where we're going to, for a day, purchase some buses to show what it could look like, rent some buses to show what trains could look like. In June, we're doing a day without a car. So we're showing what it's like to live a day. So really doing these demonstrations to kind of raise awareness about the issue. You'll see a lot of that this year going into next year.
Sharon told me about an exciting opportunity.
The executive committee elected me to attend this Ohio Transportation Leadership Academy in Columbus. And it's been wonderful because there's a large contingent of people from the Cleveland area. I've been really happy to be able to reconnect with other people across the region who also still have that passion as well. So that's been interesting, and that academy is a 6-part series, and I attended the first one, and we're going to do the other 5 series in Columbus this fall.
Our fund's own Peter Trug is also part of the Transportation Leadership Academy being put on by Transportation for America and the Greater Ohio Policy Center. I asked Frank how technology and innovation informs how MOVE thinks about mobility solutions.
Yeah, I think one of the major things is data. When we look at the technology, it allows us to kind of see commuter patterns and where people are going to and where they're coming from. We're able to see where there's pockets of populations, and then we're able, through technology, to design a system that makes sense for getting people where they need to go. So I think technology is going to help us be smarter and what type of solutions we come up with.
Our fund has found technology to be useful in advancing our job hubs work, which you heard about in last week's episode 6 of G&O Summer Road Trip. I asked them both what they are most proud of.
Just that we've stuck together. I think last year was a difficult year where we attempted to get an issue on the ballot to get more dollars and resources toward transit, and it didn't even make the cut, didn't even get on the ballot. And that could have been a time where we all could have just walked away like, oh, we tried, it's over. but we all remain committed to, the issue isn't over, the need isn't over, so we're going to stick with it and keep trying.
I'm proud of the fact that I wasn't the only person in Lorain County who just had this passion for wanting to see something done.
This is the Summer Road Trip podcast series, so I asked them all one last question. What was your best summer road trip?
DC. I love DC. My family, we go to DC often, and I just love DC when we go out there.
It's one my husband and I take all the time. We love going out east to the wineries and visiting.
I guess it would be my family reunions.
Thank you to Sharon, Frank, and Marcus for sitting down with me to talk about MOVE Lorain County and about transportation struggles in the county. Also, thank you to all that are listening, and stay tuned to see where our summer road trip takes us next week.